Disney cartoons, Final Fantasy characters, magic, black people, Moby Dick. This is the world of Kingdom Hearts, or should I say, worlds. Yo, that shit corny. 2 decades ago, Squaresoft, now known as Square Enix, had their debut of Kingdom Hearts at E3 in May 2001. Former game producer Shinji Hashimoto and former Square Enix producer and creator of Final Fantasy, Hiromu Sakaguchi, discussed the idea of a game that's like Super Mario 64. They thought to themselves, only characters that are as iconic as Disney could market against something like Mario. With the idea floating around, game designer Tetsuya Nomura picked it up and was made director for it. Square Enix did their thing and got licensing for them Disney characters, you know, corporate magic. A mashup between Disney and Final Fantasy must have been a bit shaky in the business meeting. It definitely worked out. On March 28th, 2002, Kingdom Hearts was officially released on the PlayStation 2. I had relatives who played it, but me being 5, I never got to touch the controller, so I would watch. When I was the age of 9, I finally played for the first time. As you can imagine, I didn't get too far, but I just knew it was magical. My birthday just passed on December 18th. I'm 25 as I'm recording this, and I went back to revisit the world I never fully got to experience. Opening up the game, you get introduced to a minimalistic white background with Sora and this beautiful piece of music called Dearly Beloved. I sat feeling nostalgic and reminiscing about a game I never truly got to experience. It's a mixture of peace, joy, and sadness. It's bittersweet, you can say. You can already get a gist of what kind of adventure you'll be on. Something you will always remember. The game right away starts with an AMV of Sora and his 2 friends, Kairi and Riku, on Destiny Island. Sora falls in deep waters and wakes up in a dream world. Within the realm, 3 pedestals are presented, and each having a weapon hovering over them. A sword, staff, and a shield. You could choose one and sacrifice one. I assume it was like choosing your class at the beginning of a game. I went with a sword and sacrificed a shield. It affects your progression as you get through the game, what stats get boosted and as you level, and what abilities you unlock. I wanted to be a magical swordsman. Hella glass cannon, but you know, fuck it. The Heartless emerges and you get thrown into fighting this dude. You defeat the buff-ass Heartless and then you awake from the slumber. Turns out the 3 grew up on Destiny Island for most of their lives. No idea where Tidus, Wakka, and Selphie came from though. It might have just been Sora's imagination because Riku and Kairi didn't seem to acknowledge them at all. It'll become a trend. You'll see Final Fantasy characters get thrown in out of nowhere. Sora and his friends talk about dreams, seeing what's past the waters, curious of opportunities and exploration away from a prison they call home. They plan to build a raft and sail off to the free world. The next day, you get tasked to gather things to build a raft and get preparations for the trip. At one point, you had to find mushrooms. These stupid mushrooms were so difficult to find. And you know what Riku was doing? Bro was looking into the distant ocean. Like, bruh, help me. He was down to run a race though, and beat my ass. I guess losers can't be choosers. There's also this mysterious cave Wakka points out. You go inside and there's a weirdly placed door and a bundle of tagged up graffiti around the rocks. You meet this shady hooded man talking about different worlds and darkness, like some mad emo shit. Sora hit him with a fuck dips and returns to gather goodies to Kairi. They talk about setting sail the day after and comfort themselves with each other's company. Kairi was feeling herself and was spitting game low key.
Sora, let's take the raft and go. Just the 2 of us. Huh? Just kidding.
I'm sure Sora was filled with euphoria. Bro couldn't sleep. He got the J. Cole Power Trip vibe. But of course, it all gets crashed by a random storm. He rushes to go find Kairi, but instead he finds Riku's lazy ass standing in front of a wormhole. Riku explains how it's their way out, and they should all go through it together. The Heartless run up on the whole operation and is like, what up, bitch? Only weapon at your disposal is the wooden sword. You can fight, and realize it does no damage. It hits like Sheik in Super Smash Bros. Weak as fuck. Riku teleports out, and Sora attains the legendary Keyblade. Now, with the weapon wielded, you can damage the Heartless. You find Kairi in the Sus Cave. The door swings open. A gust of wind beams Kairi towards Sora. He attempts to catch her, and then poof, she dead. Nah, I'm playing. She vanishes. Damn. Sora gets whipped back into the shore, and buff-ass Heartless dude comes out of nowhere. You supply the smoke and emerge in victory. The wormhole gets more powerful, and up Sora goes with it. While all this was happening, in a far distant world, Donald and Goofy are introduced in Disney Castle. The king is gone, and in a letter, they are sent on a quest to find a person with a key by the king. The king informs them that it'll be their key to survival. They leave on the ship and go on their journey.
Oh? Look! A door's going out.
Come on, let's hurry.
Traverse Town is the first world you arrive in. Sora is the shooting star Goofy and Donald saw soaring across the night sky. Pluto, being the curious doggo that he is, he wakes Sora up from the crash landing and then scurries away, leaving Sora left to wonder. Only thing that's on Sora's mind is to be in search of his friends. One of the first things you find is the accessory shop. Sid, the guy behind the counter, sells a few accessories you can equip to boost Sora's stats. There's also a nice save node sitting behind the fireplace. I'm reminded I'm playing an older game because most games auto saves on every quarter now. In Skyrim you can legit quick save mid-air. You eventually meet up with Squall. Instead of the usual, hey main character, you must be the good guy, let's team up, he puts you on your ass, and then befriends you when you wake up. That's some G shit for real. Yuffie and Aerith are also there. You then fight your way through some Heartless that appear and eventually meet up with Goofy and Donald. This is where you get to fight as a trio for the first time, and it's against this purple Metagross. He has floating arms and floating legs. You destroy every part of his body separately and eventually you beat him. You learn that Traverse Town is a place where people who lost their world from the Heartless come to seek refuge. It also acts as a safe haven hub world throughout the game, a place you come to pile up potions and items. After all the shenanigans that goes down in Traverse Town, you get access to the Gummy Ship, probably the best minigame within a minigame any game has. It's like them old arcade spaceship shooters back in the day. You first start off with a ship that Donald and Goofy piloted, and eventually you can obtain parts to build your own ship, making it faster and giving more firepower. You can use the ship as a way to traverse to other worlds. Each world holds their own theme relating to a Disney film. The goal is to save each world and lock them with a Keyblade to stop the Heartless from consuming them. So what is a Heartless, you may ask? Imagine if the darkened parts of your heart became its own entity and formed its own body. They are then loose to consume people's hearts and create more Heartless. So almost anyone can become a Heartless. Square does a decent job at keeping each world fresh with different Heartless types. It can be repetitive at times, but it's good enough where things don't feel stale. Some of the Heartless are also themed around their respective worlds. Deep Jungle World has monkey-based Heartless. In Halloween Town, there's mummy-like Heartless. I know the final mix has more variety, but I played the original one on the PlayStation 2. We'll save the conversation of the final mix on another video. There are unique puzzles to be solved throughout each world. Some are complex and others can be really simple. Now, I would often find myself lost doing miscellaneous puzzles for chess, thinking I was doing something to progress through the story. There was a lot of walking back and forth trying to figure the right direction. There's a world called Bastion Hollow with 30 elevators and maybe 3 of them are important. Like, bro, what the fuck? You do leave each world with a memorable adventure. The game knows how to make things difficult without being impossible, and the icing on the cake would be all the boss fights at the end of each world. I would say a few of them were trivial, and then you have Riku when he gets controlled by the Seeker of Darkness, Ansem. I lost count of how many times I fought this fight. It took me a span of 2 days to beat him. I went back to old zones and grinded out some levels, and then finally I was able to beat him. It's like you're playing Street Fighter and he's playing Mortal Kombat. Do spam the whole time, then again I probably just had to get good. Progressing early in the game, physical damage felt like the more optimal way of offensive combat. Magic seemed to tickle enemies. Only one I found myself using was the Thunder Spell. It did decent damage and it was AoE, so it covered kills that you and the squad got low. Cure was good too. Can never go bad with a heal spell. It chewed through mana though. Found myself having to buy loads of ether, which was the consumable to restore mana points. If you look at Donald, he's a wizard spell user. Oh boy, did I run into loads of problems with him. Not only did he not contribute damage, he died more times than I can count. Legit, he was a walking punching bag that went out of commission after 2 swings. But to be fair, we're out here really swinging on ducks. Completing worlds and certain tasks can grant you new magical spells or upgrade spells you've already learned. But once that started happening, this annoying ass duck becomes a monster. Look at this. Are y'all seeing this? Look at this dude's heels, bro. I guess magic isn't too shabby after all. Oh shit! The combat system is a gradual progression. You start off with a basic X spam combo. You can also do Devil May Cry air combos too. But look at this health bar though. That's just sad. For some reason, the HUD also displays the mana bar, but you don't learn your first spell until you meet Goofy and Donald. Everything is bare bones. It's good game design by the devs for sure. There's a lot of room for growth. If the character you are playing is already god tier, I'm not talking about you, Kratos, progression is going to feel stale. And boy, does the progression feel nice. It's linear, but definitely rewarding. You kill shit, get EXP, and level up. Each level can grant you stats and skills. Sometimes you get more attack power, and other times you can get an increase of health. And if the level is just right, you can get a whole new skill. Like the ability to roll like you're playing Dark Souls. Wait a minute. You guys see what I'm seeing? Squaresoft? From Soft? Where? Oh shit. If you guys recall earlier when I spoke about the 3 weapons on the pedestal, the order of which skills are unlocked are affected. If I had chosen the shield instead of the sword, I would have gotten the ability to deflect a lot earlier in the game. Also, the starting base stats are different. Here's a small graph of how points are distributed on your choices. Something I had no knowledge on until I started recording for this video is the amount of item slots you unlock are also different depending on your choices. It looks like you get the least amount if you pick the staff. I guess magic can get pretty strong, eh? I'll definitely give the game a few more goes, starting with the other pick. I did realize with my setup, my durability was looking like Donald's. What made up for it was the ability to get into combat fast and doing extended combos. I loved the counterattack skill. There's a mechanic where you can clash attacks with an enemy by both of you attacking at the same time. With the counterattack skill, your recovery from the clash is significantly quicker, allowing you to combo right after an exchange, giving you the trade advantage. I was exploiting it like crazy. Also, getting additional hits to the combo chains made choosing the sword for rewarding with my preferred playstyle. Spamming wasn't an option either. You'll either get hit from the side by another enemy or mechanics will catch you. After one combo chain, there's a slight pause before you can continue the second chain. The split second is just enough time for an enemy to throw an attack. I found myself doing aerial combos a lot. It kept me moving so I could avoid being hit. Do not get me started with the dodge roll. The recovery frames on it is so minuscule, you can pretty much spam it. Somehow you can still get caught though. AI, am I right? You can also get ultimate keyblade abilities, which will allow you to do mega anime level combat fighting, like this move called Sonic Blade, which gets used on you as well by Cloud. What the fuck? Later in the game, you obtain the ability to glide and the ability to jump higher. The movement goes from pudgy and clunky to fluid and free. You weren't meant to grab every chest going through the worlds the first time. Certain edges were only reachable with the newfound movement abilities, giving each world more of a reason to go back to. Going from melee to spellcasting transitions really well. You can have a quick bar by holding L1 and can cast 3 selected spells off rip. Of course, I had Cure on Demand. Without spells being on the quick cast tab, you can still cast every spell in your arsenal. It'll just require you to have sleight of hand reflexes. My biggest gripe with the controls would be how inconvenient scrolling through the tabs can be. If you wanted to pop a potion mid-fight, you had to scroll down with the right stick. Press X on it, scroll through that tab, and choose which item you wanted to use, and then another tab comes up where you gotta choose which character you want to use that item on. And if you wanted to go back to melee, you have to scroll back to attack. I also found it difficult having to rotate the camera with trigger buttons. I eventually grew accustomed to it, but it was off-putting. I got nice, and things were smooth sailing. Also, thank you to Lock-On, I tell you. Kingdom Hearts is Sora's origin story. Instead of the princess being the main protagonist, you're seeing it from the hero that saves the princess. It's like Shrek, but anime. In the beginning, it's portrayed clearly that Sora is fond of Kairi. Before the Heartless invades the island, if you talk to Selphie, she'll tell you about the tale of the Paopu fruit.
Have you heard about the legendary power of the Paopu fruit? They say if you share it with someone you really care for, it binds you together forever and ever, through eternity. So romantic. I gotta try it sometime.
In the Sus Cave, all the graffiti was drawn from the trio when they were kids. In a specific drawing, you can see Sora giving Kairi the Paopu fruit, giving a heavy indication of his feelings. Yeah, for sure, Kairi rizzed up. The Heartless attack the next day, Sora loses his girl, and Riku is instant transmitted somewhere. Sora is put in an unfamiliar world, also making new friends. Donald and Goofy are in search for the king, so they ask Sora to tag along and maybe he'll find his friends. The agreement is made, and off they go searching. In the meanwhile, the League of Villains have taken interest in you. When you are in open space, there are stars aligned with each world shown. It's regarding the power level of the world, giving direction on where you should steer. To some extent, take it for a grain of salt. You make it to Wonderland, as in Alice the Wonderland. You find Alice, but she is held trial by the queen. It was proposed she would be executed for attempting to steal the queen's heart. Sora steps in and is like, nah. Then the queen gives Alice more time to see if evidence can be gathered to prove her innocence. You venture into Wonderland, and the first thing you find is the Cheshire Cat. He tells you a silly riddle. It gives you clues on where you may find the evidence. You explore the forest, fight through Heartless, and find doorways. Each doorway leads to a piece of evidence. Once you find them all, you then return back to the courtroom and lay it out, only for the queen to deny you, and you fight the card knights. This fight only required you to break the contraption that would have beheaded Alice if it wasn't destroyed. Once destroyed, you look into the cage she was in and realize she's vanished. Alice was kidnapped while we were fighting the cards. Fuck the queen! This sets the stage. The princes from worlds are getting taken. You later find Riku in Traverse Town and realize he's been manipulated by Maleficent, who's the leader of the League of Villains. How you get seduced by a dragon, dog? You meet up with Aladdin in the world of Agrabah later. You beat Jafar's ass to save Princess Jasmine, and like a little rat, Riku kidnaps her ass too. We're putting in all this work and he takes the credit. Riku, that classmate you don't work with in group projects. See, I knew something was a bit fishy with Riku. He was in the sus cave a little bit too long. Apparently, Maleficent has Kairi's physical body and promises to bring her back once the work is done. It required 7 captured princesses. Getting through the pain of fighting Heartless, trying to mess things up, saving worlds, and meeting beloved characters, you find yourself in my favorite zone, Bastion Hollows, a broken, fragmented world with a corrupted castle sitting from afar. You can just tell this place must be swarming with Heartless. This is the Hall of Doom, no room for good and a place where evil can replenish. But there's no need to fear, because Sora is here. You meet up with Beast. He mentions he's there to save his beloved Belle. She's one of the captured princesses. You and the gang arrive at the edge of the castle and is accompanied by Riku. Beast gets yeeted and then Riku pulls a Uno reverse card and becomes the wielder of the Keyblade. He believed he was more suitable rescuing Kairi. Sora is left empty-handed and powerless. Donald and Goofy alter their alliance. It was still their duty to seek the Keyblade. Riku leaves Sora with a wooden sword, then moves along while Donald and Goofy go with. Beast wasn't going to give up. He was going to fight and do whatever he could to find his love. Sora picks up the log and pushes forward. It wasn't time to give up. Sora being nerfed heavy like Naruto. You have to rely on Beast to do all the damage. He was one-shotting almost everything, so I didn't mind. You guys find a way into the castle and there you meet with Riku, Donald, and Goofy. Beast is then distracted by an illusion of Belle and launches out of the room following it. You're left alone. Riku launches an attack and then Goofy in super speed blocks the attempted murder. Donald realizes his mistake and sides with Sora. With the power of friendship, Sora regains his power and is again the Keyblade wielder. You jump the bastard child, succeed, and then he scurries off. Moments later, Riku is met with the emo hooded dude from the sus cave. He throws a fit and wonder why he lost. Emo guy is like, bro, you weak as fuck. You just gotta embrace the darkness. On some Sasuke shit. Riku gets his buff and is enriched in dark power. He regroups with Maleficent. They had all 7 princesses, but something wasn't right. The purpose of collecting them was to use their powers to open the door, a power that holds the ability of the universe. Turns out Wendy, who was from Neverland, wasn't the 7th princess, it was Kairi. So the reason the door wouldn't open was because Kairi's heart wasn't with her physical body. Sora interrupts their scuffle, Maleficent is furious and decides to take him on herself. This fight was a bit underwhelming. She hops on her floaty rock, throws a meteor at you, and spawns in mad enemies to fight. Wait, that actually sounds kind of crazy. In defeat, she barely crawls away from death. Riku, who is now controlled by Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness, uses the 6 hearts they possess from the princesses and forged the Keyblade of Heart. They had the ability to unlock a person's heart. He then uses the key to open up Maleficent's heart to darkness, transforming her into a dark motherfucking dragon. Sabretooth. She was only able to take damage from you hitting her head. She ground pounds and spews out scorching green fire that is mega lethal. If you can manage to keep from getting hit, the fight can go smoothly. Mostly just avoid the fires. After you beat her, Emo Riku proceeds to call her a fool and goes into the prince's chamber. Emo Riku tries to take Kairi's heart from Sora. He didn't know her heart was within him. Now the whole disappearing act makes much more sense. Sora collapses. A magic barrier prevents Goofy from entering the platform and Donald gets booted off of it. Emo Riku comes up to finish a downstage Sora and Kairi speaks from within, giving Sora that will to get up and fight. It's crunch time and this is where a real challenge is presented. The 1v1 that was always meant to happen. As fate has it, these two were eventually going to have a duel. He does this annoying lunge attack and time to time he will sit still, timing for a deflect. His second phase, he charges up and has the ability to throw dark energy at you. I find out later that you can actually deflect it. Then when he reaches his last phase, he does a teleporting sword slash spam. Then after the barrage, he splurges a crazy AoE. Seems simple, but actually trying to pull it off may require much more effort than most bosses in this game. Riku disperses after being beaten and Sora tries to find a way to get Kairi back. He realizes the key of people's heart is still laying amongst them. He uses the key to unlock the heart that's within him, returning Kairi's heart back to her body. As Kairi awakes, Sora boops out of existence. Not gonna lie, there's so much vanishing in this game, dude. Like, Ansem in his real form steps out of a portal. He then tries to retrieve Kairi's heart himself. Riku from within Ansem then stops him from being able to move. Kairi and the gang make a run for it. And at this point, you are probably wondering what happened to Sora. Well, he's a Heartless now. He makes his way to the entrance of the castle and meets up with the three. Kairi was able to sense that the Heartless was him. A bunch of Heartless emerges. Kairi gives Heartless Sora the waifu hug and returns him back to his original self. Everyone makes their way out, but Beast stays back because he still has his duty. The gang returned back to Traverse Town where Kairi can be safe. She and Sora have a heart-to-heart conversation.
That's it. Our hearts are connected. And the light from our hearts broke through the darkness. I saw that light. I think that's what saved me. No matter how deep the darkness, a light shines within. I guess it's more than just a fairy tale.
Well, let's go.
You can't go,
Why not?
because it's way too dangerous.
Okay. Don't ever forget, wherever you go, I'm always with you.
Sora, Goofy, and Donald return back to Bastion Hollow, where they go and find the lock. It's blocked by Omega level Heartless, and of course, it's no problem. Before locking the world, Squall, Yuffie, and Aerith are there to say their goodbyes to Sora. Yuffie mentions that everyone will be returned back to their original worlds and will not be able to see each other again after the locks are sealed. But in memory, the bonds created will always be there. Seeking to the end of the world, a place of where essence of multiple worlds are bunched into one. That's where you stop Ansem once and for all. You defeat him in battle, and there you sit in front of the door of darkness, which lies Kingdom Hearts. Ansem asks for the power of darkness from the door, but instead is filled with light, ultimately destroying him. Beyond the door, darkness is arising, and it must be closed. Riku, appearing from within, granted his strength to also close the door, and this is where the king himself appears to slow down the approaching Heartless. It is revealed who he is, and it was the one and only Mickey Mouse, who is also a Keyblade wielder. I'm starting to believe this whole Keyblade wielder thing ain't all that exclusive. Eventually the door is closed, with Riku and King Mickey still remaining within. Every world is returned, and Kairi is back on the island, but Sora was not. They see each other from different realms, but are pulled away. Moments later, in the Sus Cave, Kairi painted herself, giving the Palpu fruit to Sora. Young love, alright. The game was nothing less than what I expected. Besides some of the clunky controls, it was extremely amusing. The writing felt like an anime and Disney film put into one. The characters didn't feel like empty shells. Each world felt like a theme park that stood from the other. The war between light and dark also resonates well with what real people feel. It showed the importance of bonds and what can come with people uniting together. The game had heart and definitely was more than just a children's game despite what cast of characters were used. It was definitely iconic. I'll be continuing on with the rest of the series.